To Victoria's coronavirus situation, where there are now just 2 active cases outside of Melbourne. But regional Victoria will be forced to wait weeks before any further easing of restrictions. Joining me live now is Matt O'Donnell, who's a cafe owner in Lakes Entrance in the East Gippsland. Thanks for joining me, Matt.
Thank you so much.
Now, Matt, we heard today from Professor Sutton that despite the fact there's so few active cases in regional Victoria, you'll have to wait for Melbourne to catch up. I'm going to guess that was probably the last thing you wanted to hear.
It's definitely the last thing we really want to hear, especially on a weekend. Especially in regional Victoria at the moment, the weather's shining, the sun's shining, and it's beautiful. And there's people out and about, and they're ready to I guess come into our cafe and sit down and enjoy a meal.
So if we look at where restrictions are currently for cafes and bars in regional Vic, you can have up to 10 people indoors per space, so up to 2 spaces, or you can have up to 50 people outdoors. How is that currently affecting your business? How are you operating with those restrictions at the moment?
So at the moment, we've got 2 rooms that we can fit 10 people in each. Our main cafe reaches 80 capacity usually, so we're pretty much down to the 10. And that's pretty much really it that we can fit inside. We've got an outdoor space as well, but being, Victorian weather, it can change within a blink of a second, and it really is hard for us to do anything really. At the moment, we're taking bookings for inside, but outside it's just not feasible because that weather can just change.
Well, we saw earlier this week some rain swept over Lakes Entrance. I imagine you turned a few people away then.
Yeah, definitely. Last weekend was our first weekend that we opened up from the lockdown, and on that Saturday especially, it rained most of the day, and we probably turned away probably 150, 200 people, and that's happened today again. Even though the weather's nice and we've been able to sit them outside, just the people are out and about, and they just want to come in and support.
Given there's only 2 active cases in regional Victoria, one of those is in East Gippsland, do you feel like regional businesses are being punished for the city's troubles?
Yeah, I definitely do, and I think we are. I think, when we went back to, I know it's, we're all in it together and that, but splitting the city from the regional, I know for East Gippsland, for us, we've had it really, really, really tough since the fires. And, I know for us, we're pretty much traded for 40 days at normal capacity before coronavirus, and the rest is all being restricted.
Just how much a business is struggling? Will there be many that won't reopen once things do finally get back to some form of COVID normal?
I think definitely, yeah. We still have restaurants here in Lakes Entrance that are closed, and they have been pretty much for most of the year. Some have picked up and done takeaway, and some have sort of waited out to see how everything would go, and they've started doing a little bit now. But I think it's going to be a very tough year, and a very tough next year as well.
So what would you like to see happen if the Premier had a sit down with you and you got to sort of put your case forward for what changes you'd like? What would you like to see happen?
I'd love for him to just increase it that slight little bit, just especially inside. It'd be nice, when we come out of our first lockdown, we went to 20 per room, and there was no max on how many rooms you could do that. And I think that would mean a lot to especially us and a lot of the pubs and clubs as well that are closed down still, because it's just not feasible for them to open up for 10 people per room for 2 rooms.
Matt, you mentioned earlier the bushfires. We obviously saw Lakes Entrance was particularly one of the main areas hit when you saw those 30,000 tourists got pushed out of that region during the fires. You obviously lost last summer's tourism trade. Just how much do you rely on ensuring that the same doesn't happen this time due to COVID?
We need it. If we don't have it, I don't know what will happen, especially to the area this way. Having 12 months without any income is just, yeah, it kind of gives me goosebumps. You just don't know what's going to happen, and we're ready to go. We just want to open up, and we want to invite people into the area.
Matt, thanks very much for joining me.
No problems. Thank you so much.
Matt O'Donnell there from Albert & Co. Cafe in Lakes Entrance in East Gippsland, for anyone wondering if they're in that part of the world.